Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Anglican Unscripted. This is episode 180. We're going to talk about an important topic that we talked about in episode 18, what was like 2 years ago. It's the way we work. We revisit old information. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger, and be prepared for a zombie apocalypse edition.
Yes.
Today is May 13th, 2015.
Let's move on to the news. Before we get to the news, the biggest news is today is my wedding anniversary with my lovely bride, Jill.
How long has it been?
26 years it's been. Same wife, same rings, same house almost that whole time. And it's been a lot of fun. Quite the journey. We have 3 children. One just graduated college. One's graduating high school. One's graduating middle school. So, and you asked before where I'm going for our anniversary dinner, and I'm like, nothing says love, anniversary, wedded bliss like Texas Roadhouse. That's where you gotta go.
Kevin, is this a part of our plan to build up our Texas demographic audience?
Well, I do own quite a bit of Texas Roadhouse stock, and they have free peanuts. For me, it's a win-win situation. So,
do they even have these in Texas, or is this like one of these things that...
I think it started there, but yeah, just like a California pizza, yeah, most of the pizza places are outside of California. That's just how it works. It's all in the branding. I would love to go to a place to get steak that has Texas in the name. Yeah. So that's what we're doing.
Well, Florida is a larger cattle breeding state than Texas, and we have actually better beef. And where I live, looking out of my office window, I see cows and wheat as far as the eye can see.
Moo cows.
not milk cows, meat cows.
Meat cows. All right, so we need to move on to the news.
Steers.
Yes, they're called steers. You could tell this guy's not been on a farm before. That's all right. If you showing up at the steakhouse is nice.
Part of being a rural vicar, you've got to bless cows and llamas, and I've been to a chicken coop. I mean, some of our parishioners are real country folk. I mean, and they've got animals, and the things that we eat come from someplace. They come from around here. And so, not only do I bless the foxhounds every fall, every winter, I also bless the cows and go out when they have the harvest festival.
Okay. Let's move on to the news. Well, it's still news. If people can remember way back when we were nobodies, and this is episode 18, George and I were nobodies.
Kevin, we had just become nobodies.
Yeah.
It just moved up to that level.
I know. We had 17 episodes where I think the only people who watched were Mom and Dad. And so we did a report.
The National Security Agency.
Yes, right, in the NSA. We did a report on AMIA, which was at the time called the Anglican Mission in America. It was run by Bishop Chuck Murphy. And you and I had heard that there was some trouble going on down in the Carolinas. And so, foolishly, us newbie reporters presented all the information and facts that we knew about what was going on. And the next day, we got a press release from the AMIA saying how wrong we were. It was written by Cynthia Brust, well, probably written by Chuck Murphy, given to Cynthia Brust, the press officer, and she posted out and says, Kevin Carlson and George Conger are completely wrong, irresponsible reporters in every way. You should never watch Anglican Unscripted at this address on the web. Well, we want to thank Cynthia. We want to thank Chuck Murphy for giving the address where people shouldn't go, because I think that was one of the most watched shows in the history of Anglican Unscripted to this date. Now, we are moving on some, 2.5, 3 years later, and AMIA had collapsed over this time. We thought for certain it was kind of over and dead. There was like a couple churches left in EMEA. Most went to the ACNA. Some were joined into Pair USA into the ACNA. And so I've been kind of living in this relaxed state of not having to ever report on Chuck Murphy again. That's not so certain anymore because I was reading on Anglican Ink. It's starting all over again.
Well, AMIA never really died. The stake was driven in. It was buried deep. Pair USA, the great bulk of the AMIA, folded into the Anglican Church of North America under Steve Breedlove as their bishop. And it's very successful.
Done very well, done very godly, works.
And Chuck Murphy sort of semi-unofficially retired. And Philip Jones headed up the remnant loyal to Bishop Murphy. And they really were off of most people's radars. They'd fallen from about 100 plus congregations to less than a dozen. There may be more summer mission stations, but it really was not. It was another continuing church. And it had become reborn as ASMA, the Anglican Society for Mission and Apostolic Works.
It's really called asthma?
ASMA. ASMA.
Okay.
Yeah. And, well, on May, David Virtue, journalist David Virtue, published a story last month about the Archbishop of the Congo saying, hey, wait, there's this consecration coming up of 2 new bishops for ASMA, 2 Americans, and that will include Congolese bishops. And hey, this has not the authority of the Anglican Church of the Congo. And May 2nd, the consecration came down at a Lutheran church in Orlando. And we've been in touch with Archbishop Henry Itsongoma, and he is ballistic. And the old AMIA is back in the news doing the same things, and the same charges are being thrown about. This time by a Congolese archbishop, that money is changing hands to procure the consecration of unworthy people.
Well, here's what we got to do our flashback. I hate to do it, but part of the problem before was money. It was when Archbishop Kalini stepped down, EMEA had a relationship with Rwanda. Rwanda kind of started the EMEA and said, we're going to be a mission into America because America is horrid and the Episcopal Church is heretics, which we all agree with. But to do that, there was a financial obligations. Chuck Murphy says we're sending $300,000 your way every year as our tithe. Once Kalini stepped down and the new House of Bishops started looking at the numbers, the $300,000 just wasn't there. And that caused a little, well, obviously it's an oversight, let's just ask. And when the asking started, the denying started and the whole cover-up started, and you and I became more famous.
Oh, it was a fun time. We were attacked by another journalist who reports on this topic as basically being stooges who set out to destroy God's anointed. And AMIA, remember, they put out a press release detailing the fact that they had paid me money. I think it was in 2002 or 3 to do a project for them.
Sure.
Which I did, but they changed the dates and they changed the amounts to make it look either sloppy bookkeeping or, but I basically, it was a joke.
It was, and then we finally met Deep Throat, a certain American who was working over in Rwanda, got a hold of us and said, here's the whole story, here's who you talk to, and confirmed everything we thought and knew, and we went with his story, and that kind of ended EMEA. That was once Deep Throat came forward, and we had the documentation and the facts. We thought for sure that was it.
Now, what happened was Pair USA remains affiliated with the Anglican Church of Rwanda, but it is part of the ACNA. The sort of Murphy group, Murphyites, that's not a nice word, that group lost its affiliation with Rwanda and didn't have any ties to any Anglican province. And it went through a period where we would occasionally read about an African bishop here or an African bishop there was involved and going to offer them oversight. And whenever that sort of popped up, the primate of that province said, no, 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 no. We West Africa, we Congo, we Rwanda, we Tanzania, we recognize the ACNA and we're not getting into this game again. And that takes us to May 2nd, when 2 new priests were consecrated for asthma by 3 Congolese bishops and 1 Tanzanian bishop, and Emmanuel Kalini and Yongping Chung, former primates of Rwanda and Southeast Asia.
So what's interesting here is the Archbishop of Congo reached out to who?
He reached out to his province and the other bishops of the province and said, stop, stop, stop. There are 11 dioceses. 3 of you guys are taking American money to do something that we said we wouldn't do. This is a terrible thing. And he wrote a letter, and we've published it. It's in English, which we have to sort of think about because the language of that province is French.
It is French, and it's not written as a French translation. It's written as a first English translation. So,
but we can vouch for its veracity because Archbishop Henry sent it to me. But that's something that we might be overly picky on. But an English language letter sent out saying, look, this just does terrible things to the integrity of the Congolese church. It opens us to accusations that you basically rent a bishop. If you want in other words, these 2 bishops one is being ordained for a Tanzanian diocese and one for a Congolese diocese, but then sent over to asthma. We, the African churches, don't recognize that they're part of us. And we told you not to do it. You went ahead and did it. Now it looks like we're for sale.
Right. Well, it's the whole thing about border crossing, which we talked about before. But he also said he wants GAFCON to respond to this.
Yeah, Archbishop Henry. See, the Congo, you have to understand the internal dynamics of the Congo. Archbishop Henry is in the capital, Kinshasa. The other dioceses are all grouped along the border of East Africa, near Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania. And communications within the Congo are next to non-existent. It's much easier to talk to somebody in New York than it is in Boga across the country. So Archbishop Henry is basically reaching out to GAFCON, and he's reaching out to ACNA and other places saying, help me stamp out these things, because he made the charge that his bishops are being duped for money. And we've tried to reach Emmanuel Kalini and we're unsuccessful. So we don't have all sides of this story. But I think when we talked about it's a zombie apocalypse, it's happening again.
I know. It's like,
but this time it's in a lower key with,
It's in a lower key, but it still looks like this. It's
now we're not saying the guys consecrated are bad people.
No.
We're not saying that this is not Simon the magician trying to buy the power of the Holy Spirit. Okay, but it is a case of simony. But it's not spiritual simony, it's ecclesiastical simony. These guys needed, the asthma needed more bishops, and this is how they get them.
And that's the exact point we're making here. Anglicanism is about form and function. And anything you're going to do to destroy the form and function, go behind people's backs, border crossing and stuff like that, is going to cause more dismal, it's just not going to work. So we've reached that point where we become dysfunctional again.
Well, see, we need to distinguish between honest mistakes, miscommunications,
lies.
Now, I'll give you an example. Gene Robinson, for years and years and years, has been saying that at his consecration he had to wear a bulletproof vest because all the right-wing nuts were out there with high-powered rifles ready to kill him. I went to his consecration, and he did have a vest on. Were there a vast collection of right-wing nuts out there trying to kill him? No. But he probably believed it.
Yeah.
Now, was he lying? I don't think he was being factually accurate, but I do believe that that's what he thought. Now, is that a lie? Or if, you have a vast difference of opinion as to the merits of a topic and you disagree, is that a lie if you disagree with someone? Or if we ask you, are you going to do X? And you say no. And then you go and do it and haven't planned to do it all along and lie about it. That's what the AMIA did. That's what some other groups do. And, you never get your reputation back after that.
So, as professional journalists, it's time to let people know what we think should be done about this. What should GAFCON and others do in light of the zombie we call Bishop Murphy?
Well, in the Anglican Church of the Church of Uganda had a similar situation where a bishop consecrated a priest for the Charismatic Episcopal Church.
That's right. Yeah.
And the Church of Rwanda deposed that bishop for passing on the apostolic orders of the Anglican Church to somebody not with any intention or any connection with Anglicanism. The Ugandan Church was very straightforward, very firm. You do this, you're out. And I think Congo should take a serious look. Were these guys fooled? In other words, if they didn't know any better, if they believed all the stuff that they're told about this is a true Anglican thing, this is part of ACNA, this is that, then maybe there's some wiggle room. But if these guys basically took money to perform Episcopal acts, they should become Episcopal bishops or they should be kicked out of the Church of the Congo.
Absolutely. All right. I did want to cover one more quick topic, George.
What's that?
Okay. Pew Research came out yesterday with a little survey saying the Christian church is being decimated. People are leaving left and right. Don't even bother going on Sunday because you're just going to join a church and there's not going to be anybody in there. The doors will probably be locked. A real devastating story unless you look at the actual structure of how the survey was conducted. Do you remember what a Reaganite was?
Yes, yeah.
A Reaganite was a person who, even though Democrat or even though not having a party affiliation, was so in love with the growing economy and all the jobs and the yuppies and Wall Street and Alex P. Keaton that when a pollster would call and say, well, what party do you affiliate with? They would, I'm a Republican, even though they were not registered Republicans. Well, for a long time, Christianity has enjoyed over the last 400 years here on the shores of North America the smiles of Americans, so that they would say, whom do you affiliate with? Well, I affiliate with Christianity. Well, lo and behold, after all the attacks of the last 2 or 3 years, people don't want to affiliate with Christianity because, well, first of all, they don't want all the super liberals to look down upon them, and the media is just doing a wonderful job of castigating Christianity. However, the churches will still be full on Sunday. The actual people who go to church are still going to church. The people who we'll call Christianites, kind of Christian in name only, they won't be there, but they weren't there before, George.
Yeah, I mean, when they used to do census data with religious affiliation, the Episcopal Church always showed having 2 to 3 times the number of people it thought it had.
That's right.
Why is that? Well, you can call yourself whatever you like, but unless you show up occasionally, you're not going to be a member of that church. And we've reached the point now that for cultural and social positions, people who weren't Christians in terms of faith no longer feel the need to call themselves Christians. So they don't call themselves atheists. They've not become Muslims or anything like that. But they're basically given a new box to check, which is, I'm not really much of anything right now.
Which is kind of weird. So we have rhinos and we have chinos. The rhinos are Republican in name only. The chinos are Christians in name only. Go figure. Well, we've just wasted 18 minutes of your time. It's time to move on. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger. And you've been watching episode 190 of Anglican Unscripted.
No, it's 180. You know, these lunchtime recordings, and we're gonna
Is
pop
it 180?
them up. Yeah. And last week was 179. This is definitely 180.
No.
Hold on. Do I have to check? Let me check. Hold on here. Oops. Checking.
You're right, it's 180.
See, I never hear that around my house. I've been married 26 years. I think I've heard I'm right like twice. So it's so cool. All right. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger, and you've been watching episode 180 of Anglicans.